Long-standing beliefs. Boy, we have a lot of them, don't we? From our grandparents and our parents, and maybe some of those in the financial world are no longer applicable. That's why we're here with Jeff Gove from Stonebridge Wealth Systems, and the show is Retirement Compass Radio Show. Some of these need some updating, don't they? Some upgrades.
Yeah, they do.
How's it going, Jeff?
I'm good. How are you doing, Jackie?
Oh, I'm doing great. Great. Yes, ready to roll through this week's show.
Yeah, let's do it.
So one of those standing beliefs is, maybe it's just a pride thing sometimes for people, is to have the mortgage paid off by the time retirement rolls around. Mm-hmm. And it does feel really good to say, you know what, I got that house paid off, and now we're going to retire. But is that always the best case scenario?
A lot of times it is. You know, if you can go into retirement with no debt, it definitely gets you a step ahead. Because essentially it's a part-time job that you don't have to have. You know, it's not as stressful on your retirement accounts. But with that being said, everybody's case is different. You know, we've got people that still have a mortgage that are retired and they're doing just fine. It all comes back to how much have you saved and how much do you need from what you've saved. That's all that matters. You know, it's how much money do you need and where does it need to go? Is the biggest thing.
Sure. Are there any advantages, though, any tactical advantages to still having that deduction, even though you're not working full time?
Well, the problem with that deduction is a lot of people aren't getting it anyway, right? Because they increase the standard deduction. So it's so high now that most people aren't itemizing. So if you're not itemizing, you're not getting that deduction anyway. And, you know, even if you did, in my opinion, it's not necessarily a reason to have a mortgage because you're not getting, it's not a dollar for dollar deduction or tax. It's not a tax credit. It's a tax deduction. So you're still paying more in interest than you're receiving in a tax benefit. But the other side of that is, you know, I think about my mortgage. I've got a mortgage and it's right at 3%. So I'm not in a huge hurry to pay that off. I'm 45. I'd like to have that paid off when I retire for sure. But I'm not in a huge hurry because, you know, that's really low interest. You know, I've talked to some people where they're in the twos, depending on when you refinance or purchase your house. So, yeah, you have to look at that too. You know, does it make sense to pay that down when you can earn right now in a CD? You can earn more than you're paying in interest. So you could earn 4% or more on your money and pay 3% in interest.
I see. Now, Mr. Gove,
yes.
Say you have the house paid off. It's not a cash machine, per se. It's not like you can go to it and say, I need, $50,000 without refinancing at a higher rate or something of this nature. So does it make more sense to keep some cash set aside in an emergency fund before you chunk off that $50,000 to pay off the mortgage?
Yeah, there's definitely, you know, if you listen to Dave Ramsey, he talks about the baby steps, you know, I would think along the same line where, you know, there's boxes to check before you do certain things. So, yeah, you want to make sure you have an emergency fund well-funded before you go pay down your house. Because if you have to go back, you pay off a 3% mortgage and now you're going and doing a home equity loan for 7% because you don't have any liquidity, not a great idea. So definitely things that you need to do. There's an order in which you need to do things.
Okay.
And it doesn't, I'm not just talking about, you know, your mortgage. I'm talking about, you know, where you're investing money. So do I put money in my 401k? Do I put money in my Roth IRA? There is an order in which we do things. And by having that order correct, it makes a massive difference when you look at the ending value of your portfolio.
Now, that's good stuff. Now, you're listening to the Retirement Compass radio show with Stonebridge. I'm going to hand out your number here, Jeff, 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. Also, maybe, I think that you and Tim have talked about this before. It's not a great idea to remove money from your IRA to pay off this mortgage.
Yeah, and kind of along the same lines, if you have a low interest rate, 3%, well, if you take money out of your IRA, what happens? You have to pay tax on it, right? You've never paid tax on that money yet. So let's say, and we hear this a lot, you know, I'm retiring, I want to pay the house off, got $150,000 left, so let's just pull $150 and pay for it. might be a bad idea, because if that pushes you, let's say you're in the 12% tax bracket, you take out 150, now you're in the 22% tax bracket. Now you've got state tax on top of that, depending on where you live. So that's very expensive. But there's also other consequences that could happen. If you're 65 and going on Medicare, if you take out too much, you're going to get a surprise in 2 years when the government says you made too much money 2 years ago, so now you're going to pay extra on your Medicare. So lots of little things that you have to think about. That's why it's so important to have a plan. Before you just go take these big chunks of money out of tax deferred accounts, let's look at the consequences. Let's make an educated decision that isn't just, I want to be debt free. I'm all for being debt free. Don't get me wrong, but there's a good way to do it. Maybe it's, if you had 150 left, maybe it's we take out 50,000 over the next couple years to get that paid down quicker, or over the next 3 years and have it paid off. We want to maintain that tax bracket. And again, that's why we built the Retirement Compass to include income planning, right? You need to have income to live on, Social Security, pension, maybe an annuity, whatever that is. We need to have an investment plan, and we need to make sure those investments align with your income plan, tax plan. And this is where we see a massive difference. I mean, for a lot of people, we're looking at millions of dollars a year in savings. And when we can project out, what we think tax rates are going to do, what you think tax rates are going to do, and then let you know that you do have choices of when you pay those taxes, if you want to have choices. And then we get to the healthcare plan and the legacy plan. But all of these work together, because if you make the wrong decision on the income plan, the trickle-down effect can be catastrophic.
We don't want the trickle-down effect. Was it Reagan who said that, the trickle-down economics or something, and it never did happen?
Yeah, there was no trickling down.
There was no trickling down. This is the Retirement Compass radio show with Stonebridge Wealth Systems. And by the way, they have offices in Grand Island, Omaha, Kearney, and Lincoln. But they can help you no matter where you are in the Midwest. Their number and websites are as follows. The phone number is 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. And a couple of websites that are really fun, stonebridgetaxbill.com. And then you can look at that project your taxes out. And there's no lock on that feature. You don't have to become a client to use that feature, which is really, I think people appreciate that. Or stonebridgeiwm.com if you want to get the full picture of who Stonebridge is, including all of their media coverage, including all their team members, and of course their story, et cetera, and what they can offer you. So that one is stonebridgeiwm.com. All right, so here we are. This is one of these things that kind of comes from an era that's bygone, I feel like, Jeff, and that is fixed income for retirement. Now, is this safe and sustainable? Because oftentimes when you hear somebody saying, I'm on a fixed income, this is a lament in some fashion. They're like, we can't spend more at Golden Corral because we're on a fixed income.
Yeah. And that's true, but we talk a lot on the show about, those pensions that, for a lot of people that are retiring today, if you're lucky enough to have a pension, I mean, most people aren't going to have a pension. You're funding your own retirement these days. So what I want people to know is, those are really good things. Having that pension when you look at the value of that money, it's a huge, huge benefit. So when you look at fixed income, we're talking about Social Security and then your pension. But one thing that I don't think people understand is that you can create your own pension. So if you've saved money in a 401k, in an IRA, a Roth IRA, whatever it is, you can put your money in the same type of vehicle that those pensions use, which is an annuity.
Oh.
And a lot of people hear annuity and they think, oh no, that's the boogeyman. Nobody wants an annuity. Mm-hmm. Well, ask the people that are getting their pension if they don't want an annuity, because it's a really, really good, could be a really good thing. Mm-hmm. And there is a place for it. So you can create your own, and that's in, we talk about the different buckets, the safety, income, and growth. The annuity is in the income bucket. So you could put in, let's say, $300,000, and it would spin off, let's say it's $1,500 a month, guaranteed for the rest of your life. And it's according to the claims paying ability of the insurance company, obviously. But you can create your own. The nice thing about this type of a pension that you would create is there's still a lump sum death benefit for your beneficiaries. The annuities or the pensions that a lot of people are benefiting from today, there really isn't a death benefit. Unless you did the spousal option, it pays for both of husband and wife for the rest of their lives. But if you both die, insurance company keeps all the money. With this type of annuity, you're getting your income for guaranteed for life. If you're husband and wife, you can do it joint, depending on the contract. And then if you die and you haven't taken out all your money, it's a lump sum death benefit of whatever's left to your beneficiary. So it's what I love having in that income bucket, because then it doesn't matter what the stock market's doing. The market's going down. We don't have to compound those issues by taking money out of the market when it's down. We have that mailbox money, I'll call it, where your Social Security and your pension, your annuity, that money's coming in every month, regardless of what happens. That allows us to invest with confidence in that growth bucket. So as that grows, you're making more money. It's going to cover future inflation. That's going to be your biggest death benefit to your kids. It's just got to be set up correctly.
Very good. You want to call right away any of these issues that we're talking about on the show today and get yourself onto the calendar. The radio show and TV show, of course, do get priority onto the schedules of the very experienced advisors at Stonebridge. 866-295-5146. Don't wait. Here we are. We're already in August. Oh my gosh, 866-295-5146. Be right back with the Downsizing Dilemma on Retirement Compass Radio Show.
Is your retirement being eaten up by financial termites like hidden fees, inflation, and avoidable taxes? Call today for a complimentary financial review so we can help you root out these retirement killers.
Retirement Compass Radio Show, starring Jeff Gove today. Jackie Selby along, and what do you think about this, Mr. Gove? Downsizing. This is also one of those things that most people, well, a lot of people used to think, no, I'm staying in the home. I'm staying in our home no matter what. Well, it just depends nowadays, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I love the idea of downsizing. My wife likes to keep everything.
Oh, dear.
And, some of the things, it's like, well, that was $3. If I ever need it again, I'll just go buy a new one for $3 rather than put it in this tub and we're not even going to know we have it. But so I do think downsizing is a good thing. Working with this on one client specifically right now, and I don't know if they're listening to the show or not, so not going to name names.
That's
but
okay.
It's a couple that they live here in Kearney, and they're looking at, do we sell our house, go buy a condo? Then we have a little bit extra money maybe. Do we just go and rent something? But what it comes down to first is, do you want to stay in your home? Like, what kind of retirement do you want to live? Do you want to be where you're at, outside of just the financial piece of it? So for them, they don't care. It's a house. There's no emotional tie to it. They didn't raise their kids there. But the thing you have to think about, especially in Kearney, and it's everywhere, but Kearney's fairly expensive to live. So if you sell your house, you have to go buy something else. So you may not save as much money as you think. So their house is paid off. That's great, but they're renting their house from the county, basically, or the state of Nebraska. They're paying property tax and insurance, which really adds up. But again, you have to keep in mind that even if you're selling your house at a high price today, you still have to go be able to buy something else. So you may not save as much as you think. So definitely do the research on that and see, well, man, if I'm only going to save $50,000, I'd rather just stay where I'm at. Okay, then stay where you're at. The other thing for them, though, is he's kind of done mowing the yard.
Yeah, so
and
many men
done
say that.
scooping the snow.
Yes.
So those are other reasons to, and even if it's not downsizing, but to move to go to a condo where you are going to have fees. There's HOA fees.
Yeah.
That stuff isn't free, right? So you have to look into that and then see, well, you might be able to pay my son who's mowing yards to mow the yard rather than pay an HOA fee in the place that you're at. So, yeah, there's lots and lots of things to consider. And then I had another client that is moving to town, and there's some furniture. They're trying to downsize, but there's some larger furniture that is like family heirlooms that we're not getting rid of. So, like a China hutch, for example, that's what it is for her. Finding a house that is less expensive than what they have or the same and has the space that they need to fit this massive furniture, that can be a challenge. So there, like I said, lots of things to consider when you're downsizing. For that first couple I was talking about, what made the most sense, and this is honestly the first time in my career that I've told someone this, but it makes the most sense for them to rent something if they could find something. Because kind of to your point earlier in the show, if they needed income from that value, their house is worth $500,000. If they needed income from that, if it's in a equity in a house, you can't sell the door, right? I mean, you have to go and get a loan and then pay interest. So for them, investing that money gives them actually way more, lets them lead the retirement they want to if they invest that money. But again, that is very, very rare that I would ever advise anyone to do that.
This is the Retirement Compass radio show with Stonebridge Well Systems, and you can catch them on this phone number, 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. And if you've never seen what Mr. Gove looks like, you could check us out on the YouTube channel. That's
Why are you laughing?
Because it's just you were
She's like,
waving.
you don't want to see. Don't do it.
It's Stonebridge Well Systems on YouTube. And you know how the kids say, please give us a like and a follow.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
On the YouTube
Click
channel.
the button.
Right.
They say.
But
Yeah.
it is kind of fun to see the people. And people see you on TV anyway if they watch local TV. And so
They don't see me.
They
see
don't. Because it's
Jeremy
you and Jer
Tim.
Bear.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Tim and Jer, right?
Yeah, it's Jer Bear and Tim.
Jer Bear. Poor Jeremy. I call him Jer Bear. That's Jeremy Gove, Jeff Gove's brother. All right.
So anybody that's listening, if you call the office and say, I'd like an appointment with Jer Bear, I am willing to discount fees at this point.
Don't tempt people because you know it's going to start happening.
Jackie, throw the number out.
Here it is again, 866-295-5146. All right, we passed the downsizing dilemma. This is something that I think people really need some distinction on. We touched on it earlier, but rating the retirement savings. It's tempting, but it can be dangerous. And can we just start from the beginning of this subject matter and delineate between a 401k and an IRA? Because I think people call IRAs 401ks just because that's what they're used to calling it for 40 years. And they don't really, maybe even don't transfer the money, do an in-service rollover to an IRA at any point. They just start taking the money. You don't want to leave their money with your former employer, right? That's the 401k part.
Well, not always, but
okay.
So I don't want to make that blanket statement. There are reasons to leave money in a 401k, and one being if you retire at 55 and you have a 401k, if you can take money out of that 401k at age 55 without a penalty. So that would be a reason to leave money in a 401k. But yeah, I mean, there definitely is a difference. A lot of times it does make sense to roll money out of a 401k if you have the opportunity, which if you're over 59 and a half and you have a 401k, odds are you can probably roll your money out to an IRA. Right. And the reason that a lot of times we recommend that you do that is because you open up the investment universe, right? If you have a 401k, I mean, we've all been through it. They sit you down and they say, here's the list of funds. Here's 10 mutual funds you can choose from, 20, whatever that number is for your plan. And that's what you get to choose from. The other thing is the way the 401k industry works is advisors really won't give you advice. They will come in and they'll educate you on your options inside the plan and educate you on how to build a portfolio, put money in each of these categories, not necessarily funds. And then they say, okay, you guys go do it. So you have to do it on your own. So, when we talk about tax planning, you're not getting that from your 401k plan. When we talk about, doing Roth conversions, you better do the research, figure out how to do that, because if all of your money is in a 401k and you don't have a fiduciary working alongside you, you're on your own. You're going to have to do it yourself and get the education to be able to do that. Because if you make a mistake, it could be very, very, very expensive. So you have to be careful. But so all of the different planning opportunities, reason to roll it out. With that being said, typically there's not a less expensive way to invest than in a 401k plan. So that is a good thing. Like typically you're going to pay more in fees if you roll it to an IRA. But I would argue there better be a reason, to pay more fees. You better be getting something for those fees that you're paying. And you need to know that the fees are going to be a little bit higher. But you're going to save that, in tax savings and potentially a better rate of return. Lots of different reasons to do that.
And when you do build a plan with Stonebridge, all these things are part of the discussion for sure. And you want to get on the schedule. It's just, I don't know why it seems so important this year of all years to me. We've been talking about it since the beginning of the year, but it is 2025. It's the middle of the year and the middle of the decade. 866-295-5146. And all of the baby boomers are, we're not getting any younger. Or just the end of the baby boomers now are getting to be turning 65.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing, Jackie, is, if you're close to retirement, one thing I want you to know just from a financial planning perspective is something called sequence of returns. And this is very, very important when you first retire, because the first few years of retirement are the biggest risk, because you're fine-tuning your budget. And if the market goes down by, let's say it went down by 30%, you're projecting out that you're going to make, let's say it's 7% per year on average. Well, if you take a big hit right out of the gate and you're drawing money from the portfolio, it's never going to have time to recover that. As opposed to, sustaining a bigger loss 10 years from now, where you've had your money should have doubled. If you've got 7.2%, rule of 72, in 10 years your money should have doubled. Now you see a 30% hit. No one wants that, but it's very different than the money that you have today taking a big hit, and you're taking out 4 or 5%. You're just never going to recover that. So getting a plan set up, getting money out of that 401k, because some of the tools that we have in IRAs, like buffered ETFs, there's a lot of different things that you can do that offer some principal protection and give you upside potential that you can implement in your plan, have it set up so the day you retire, we lower that risk of the bigger loss in those first few years, because that is the biggest risk to your retirement.
Here's the number again while we wrap up this segment here on Retirement Compass Radio Show. And it's 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. Stonebridge Wealth Systems is their firm. And this is Retirement Compass Radio Show. Don't leave us now. We're having some fun.
As Americans, we strive for better. From a better house to a better career to a better life for our children and grandchildren. Better has become the American way. When it comes to your retirement, what does better mean to you? Does it mean more income, a flexible lifestyle, better solutions? A better retirement begins with a financial plan. To get your complimentary written financial plan, call the number you see here. You only retire once. This is your opportunity to plan for better.
Of course, course, you want to protect your family. That's the whole reason that you would want to work with a fiduciary with a wonderful planning team for your retirement. This is Retirement Compass Radio Show with Stonebridge Wealth Systems. And I bring that up, Mr. Gove, because the estate plan is so much part of the retirement plan, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the last but not least step in our process, the legacy plan.
That's one of the points on the compass.
That's right.
That's what you're trying to say.
Steer you in the right direction.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it is.
Well,
it is really important. I mean, if you don't have the other pieces, the reason we have the 5-step process is because if you don't have those other 4 plans, let's say you don't have a long-term care plan, well, you might not need a legacy plan because you might not have any left over, right? I mean, you have to spend everything. If you don't do good tax planning, maybe you pay more than you need to in taxes over the years, so you don't need a well-detailed, well-thought-out estate plan.
Wow.
So we've got to have all 5 of those. But once we get to that legacy plan, we're looking at, I guess first, leaving a legacy doesn't mean you have to be dead. Like, are there things that you want to do with your grandkids? I've got one gal that she's got little grandkids right now. They're, baby age. But she wants to take them all on a Disney cruise. She's saving for that.
Oh, good.
And she wants to take them when they'll actually remember and enjoy it. So she's waiting for them to get a little bit older, and then she's going to take them. That's leaving a legacy. That's something those kids will never forget, that the parents appreciate and they'll never forget. But then when we talk about the money, looking at how do we leave everything to your kids in the most efficient way possible. A lot of people are thinking, if you have farm ground, for example, well, I'm just going to give them the ground, and because then it protects it from the nursing home and all these other things. And it may or may not, depending on, there's look backs where the government could come back and or Medicaid could come back and take those assets. But there's other consequences to doing that. You have a lifetime exemption that you may or may not hit if you do that. There's if the kids ever wanted to sell the land, then they wouldn't receive a step up in cost basis. So if they sold it, and you gifted it to them, their basis is going to be the same as what yours was when you purchased it. So that'd be a reason not to do it. But there's a lot of different things that you could do. But again, the legacy plan, the estate plan, that's where we work with your attorney. We're not attorneys. We work with your attorney to develop a plan to make sure that everything goes the way that you want it to. Maybe you have a child that you love dearly, but they're not good with money. Or maybe there's an addiction issue where giving them $1 million literally could kill them. We don't want to do that. Obviously, we want to protect them from themselves. So there's things that you can do in your estate plan to protect them from themselves. So all of those things are going to come out in our discussion. And then we're going to work with an attorney to get all the legal side down. Like, okay,
I see.
This is what I want to happen. I want it to go here. I want them to get the money at this age, whatever the case is. And then we're going to try to do it as inexpensive as possible. Naming beneficiaries, putting beneficiaries on everything. In Nebraska, you can even put a beneficiary on houses, on real property. So lots of things that can be done, but it needs to be part of your plan.
Sure. It's fun to think about when people are getting close to that mark, that line of demarcation between working and retiring in their lives. And then after that, you start thinking, well, what are we going to do with all this? Who's going to want what? Sometimes people will come forward and say, now you guys are retired, but I hope you're going to put me down for this China hutch, the one that you're talking about, the lady likes, and all those kinds of things. So this can play into that. And this is the number to call Stonebridge, 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. Or maybe kids have always their whole lives gone, that was Grandma's table. I sure want that when I grow up. And I'd be sure to have grommet's table. Doesn't matter what it is. You need to probably designate it. But if you don't even have a will, should we start there with a will?
Yeah. I mean, a will may be enough. The attorneys that we work with, they're not trust salespeople. And you have to be really careful because they're out there where, you've got $100,000 in an IRA, you need a trust. You don't need a trust. You've got a little bit of farm ground, you need a trust. Everybody needs a trust. And that's not accurate. Not everybody needs a trust. We want to work with people that have your best interest in mind. So how do we get all of this done? Use the legal documents that are needed, not the ones that make the attorney the most money. And again, beneficiaries, that's free. Go to your bank and add a beneficiary to your savings account. That's free. It doesn't cost you anything.
And checking, yes.
Yep. And you just avoided probate right there. So
Okay, good.
So what happens is your kids are going to take in a death certificate. If they're on there as beneficiary, it's going to go through the process. They're going to open up an account for you, and the money's going to move in there. So it's very simple. It's not going to be assets listed in the newspaper and a big mess so creditors can get to it. It's seamless process, and it's free.
And it's free to do that. So those are some good places to start.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I understand that. I never knew that there were people selling trust to everyone. Why? Because it makes the attorney a lot of money? Is that what you mean?
Yep. Yeah. And it's I've seen it. My grandparents, they were kind of a victim of this, and it was a big debacle. So, you just got to be careful with who you're working with. The other thing is, if you're doing your estate plan, work with an estate planning attorney, not, the divorce attorney that I'll do your will in the evening or whatever. You need somebody that's an expert because it's really important.
Okay.
It's really, really important that it's done right. Because if it's not done right, it could, even though you think everything is in place, it could create a big fight on the back end.
Oh, boy.
The other thing is communication. I know a lot of us don't like to share with our kids what we have. And I guess that's okay. But later in life, sit down and communicate with your kids why you're doing what you're doing. Because if you have, I'll use my family as an example. So,
all right.
There's some of the kids helped on the farm growing up. All of them helped on the farm growing up, and then some stayed around and helped on the farm. Well, there was certain kids that were going to get more because they helped on the farm. There were certain kids that were not going to get anything from the farm, but they never explained why. So, believe it or not, the ones that weren't around, their day to day, they think the ones that were, manipulated, right?
Goodness.
They went in and said, because those are the people that got more.
Oh.
Which I think that's natural because that was never explained to the family. It was, this is what we want, and this is why. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter why. You can do whatever you want with your money. But I think if you don't want to leave a mess on the back end, if not everything is equal, which it doesn't have to be, communicating why you're doing that will save relationships later when you're gone.
Right. So this happened to your folks? Your
To my
dad?
grandparents, yeah.
Oh.
It's been, what is it? My grandpa passed away in 2010. His estate's still open.
Yeah, it is?
Yep. And grandma, I think it was 2012, also
my
still
goodness.
open. Yeah, big mess. I think they're finally getting it wrapped up.
Gosh, I hope so. That's a long time.
And can you imagine what they paid in attorney fees? I mean, it's 7 figures. It's
And
crazy.
that's all because there were not the proper documents?
Yeah, the documents, there was mistakes in the documents.
Oh, my.
And again, there was no communication. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I think if there would have been communication, the mistakes in the documents could have been over, we'd get over that, and understand it was a mistake because someone told us what we wanted, what they wanted.
So that's a multi-generational problem. It just keeps going.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of money. And, sometimes,
It can create-
sometimes it doesn't pay for an attorney to get it closed.
Oh.
It's better to keep the fight alive.
Man alive.
Sorry, attorneys, if you're listening. I'm not.
I
trying to
don't like the
badmouth
sound
you.
of that. I have one other little thing I want to put past you, and that is the gift tax that you can, the estate tax threshold. Is that what it's literally called?
Yeah.
That you can, how much you can gift a person each year or whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, 18,000 a year
Okay.
per person. So that means like my wife and I can each give each of our kids 18,000. If they're married, you can give you can give your kid 18,000 each and their spouse 18,000 each. If they have
Okay.
kids, you can give each person can get 18,000 from each of you.
What would be good use of that $18,000 if it was a grandpa and a grandma giving to the grandchild?
So it depends on the grandchild. So if let's say they're 16 and they've got a job and they're working. The reason the working is important is because to do Roth IRAs, you have to have wages. So if let's say they work in the summer and they made $10,000.
Oh.
Well, you could put $7,000 in a Roth IRA for them that's going to grow tax-free for the rest of their life. So, I mean, when you look at the compound interest effect on that, the numbers get really, really fun.
Sure, just as long as they don't take it out too soon and just want to, have a new car or something.
Right, but that comes down to education. If you're doing
and communication,
that, yeah, don't just not tell them that it's there. Like use it as a teaching tool, like an opportunity to teach them what you're doing and why you're doing it, and illustrate how much money you're going to have because I'm doing this for you. Because then they won't want to touch it. They'll want to add to it when it's time. When they're out of high school and they're out of college, they're in their career, and you're not putting money in there anymore. Now they're going to do it because you taught them to do it.
Very good. Taught them to save. You want to, for sure, call Stonebridge on this number and get these ideas going within your own family, 866-295-5146. It doesn't cost you anything to meet with a member of the experienced team, by the way, 866-295-5146. Be right back.
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter. The one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Spanning the entire Midwest, it is the Retirement Compass radio show with Stonebridge Wealth Systems. I've got Jeff Gove here. He's one of the principals, founders, and all-around good guys. Jeff, are you ready for some, scenarios?
Let's do some scenarios.
That could apply to someone who's listening.
Probably does apply to someone
Probably
who's listening.
does apply to someone who's
Probably you
listening.
if you're listening.
Yeah.
This is for you.
All right. These folks have heard about using a QCD, a qualified charitable distribution, to lower taxable income from RMDs, required minimum distributions. They give about $5,000 a year to charities already, Jeff. What about using QCDs as a good strategy in addition to that, or a replacement for that, or what do you think?
9 times out of 10 it is. So a qualified charitable distribution, what that is taking money out of your IRA, sending it directly to a charity. Then you don't have to pay tax on it.
Hey.
A required minimum distribution, what that is when you hit a certain age, if you're already drawing, it could have been 70 and a half for you. That's where it was a few years ago. And then they moved it to 72. And then they moved it to 73. And now if you were born in 1960 or later, it's 75. So at those ages, you have to start drawing money out of IRAs and 401ks. So let's say you're giving, $5,000 a year to your church, for example.
All right.
Because of some of the recent changes that were made with, how we account for deductions. So standard deduction has gone up quite a bit. most people aren't itemizing. So a lot of people that are listening aren't itemizing. If you're not itemizing, you're not able to deduct that $5,000 that you're giving to the church. You have to be itemizing
I see.
in order to do that. So what a qualified charitable distribution would do for you, let's say your required distribution is $30,000. So instead of giving that $5,000 out of your pocket, what that would look like is you get the $30,000 and then you pay tax on that. Then you write a $5,000 check to the church. So that's option one. All of that's taxable. You're not deducting anything.
Okay.
Option two would be you take $25,000 that you're going to pay tax on. We have $5,000 go directly to the church that you're not going to have to pay tax on, and it satisfies $5,000 of that required distribution. So you're still meeting the amount that you have to take, but you're not going to pay tax on it. So essentially, you get the deduction for that. The other place that's important is when you look at IRMA, where that's income-related monthly Medicare or monthly adjustment. So you're going to pay more for your Medicare, bottom line. That could keep you under that, where now you're not paying more premium for your Medicare Part B and your drug plan. So there could be some savings there depending on where you're at. Everybody's situation is different, but that's why having a plan and looking at these things on an annual basis is really, really important.
So once you do get a plan together with Stonebridge, you guys regroup, don't you? And then have a review, see how things are going, because people in retirement, things do change.
Yeah, they do change. I mean, year to year, we've seen that, the last 5 years, there's been changes almost every year. So we have to account for those. In the last 10 years, there's been significant changes with how Social Security works, taxation, how to draw money out of retirement accounts or when you have to, deductions. Lots have changed, which that doesn't mean we scrap your plan. It means we adjust, right? And make decisions based on the laws that are on the books today.
Amendments or whatever needs to happen or something.
Yep.
I was just thinking of those folks that give the $5,000 to the church. A lot of times people in their mid-70s they've already set up how their income is working for them and don't need the RMD.
Right.
Maybe any of it. And they don't want to mess up their Medicare, so they're like, well, let's use the entire amount to distribute straight from that IRA to the charity or charities.
Well,
Is that
a good
right?
point. Yeah, it's a good point because it's not all or nothing, right? I mean, you can do part of it.
Sure.
Or all of it, whatever you want to do. And you can do more than you have to take out if there's something that's important to you. A lot of times our churches do maybe there's a construction project coming up, so they do a drive to try to raise money. The IRA could be a really good place to get that because you don't pay tax on it and it keeps the money in the bank, so you're not writing that check out of your bank account. You're taking it out of the IRA, which is going to help you in the future from a tax perspective. It's going to help your kids from a tax perspective because that money that's in the bank, they're going to get income tax free. If it's still in the IRA, they're going to pay income tax on that.
Right. And if there's a construction project, you might get your name on one of the bricks.
That's right. Or if you invest in Jackie's van, maybe she'll put a wrap with your name on it.
Yeah, I'll
I don't
put
know
a
if
wrap
that's a
with your
deduction.
name on it, or let's thank our sponsors on the back of the van.
Right. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Call Stonebridge for any information on this subject, 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. All right. Here's some folks worried about rising property taxes and insurance costs and how this is going to affect their retirement budget. And here's the fixed income again. They're on a fixed income. Now, their home is in an area where the costs have really jumped up in recent years. And what options do retirees have to manage escalating housing expenses without uprooting their lifestyle? So these guys are not going to relocate.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel your pain. I mean, property taxes are going up, significantly and just really, really fast. And then when you look at the insurance, I mean, that's crazy. I had a client of mine who he had shake shingles on his house. his homeowner's insurance was going to, it was like $35,000 to insure his home and it was all because of the roof. So he had the choice to redo his roof. It was going to be $60,000. So he decided to do that because after he did that, his premium on his house went to $4,000.
Oh.
So yeah, I get it. Insurance is very, very expensive. Now, if you feel like you're overpaying or insurance poor, we'll call it, we do offer that in our office. Brian Blakely does a really good job with the property insurance side. When we built Stonebridge, we wanted to be able to offer everything to our clients. For some people, maybe we can generate more income for them from their portfolio. Some we can't, but what we can do is lower their expenses so that it's still a net gain, right? If we save, a couple $100 a month in premium on your homeowner's insurance, well, that's a couple $100 in your pocket. I just had him redo mine, and it was like between $5,000 and $6,000 in savings a year.
Oh, good.
So there are opportunities right now to upgrade your insurance. And I actually lowered my deductible, which is kind of crazy.
That's nice.
Yeah, lower deductible and saved a bunch of money.
Oh, that's nice. I like how that works. So
well,
call
now I can
Stonebridge.
fund a Roth IRA almost,
Right.
Just with
Love
that.
it.
Yeah.
Love it. 866-295-5146 to call Stonebridge and talk to, is it Brian in your office?
Yep.
About the insurance, and because that is true, you are allowed to call your insurance company if you are going to DIY that part, and say your credit rating. I just learned this myself. Your credit rating changed for the better, and you can call them and have them re-rate you according to your. Anyway, there's a lot of tricks to it.
I think it's a good idea to shop especially after this experience. It's like,
Yes.
Oh man, how long have I been overpaying by $5,000 or $6,000 a year?
Gosh.
And I should have done it earlier, but we are where we are.
Yes.
So don't do what I did.
Right.
Just shop it today and don't worry about it.
Well, that's I think a situation where most Americans want to set it and forget it.
Right. Well,
They're auto and home.
Yeah. But that is a huge benefit. I love State Farm and American Family, great companies. I grew up on State Farm. Like my family was there. I finally shopped that when we built our first house, and I can't remember if it was Travelers, I think we went with, but it was half of the premium
Oh, wow.
on the house than what State Farm was. So loved my agent, but I didn't love him that much. He wasn't going to reimburse me the difference. So
Right. It is hard to break those relationships.
yeah,
For
and
people.
There's other things to consider. State
sure.
Farm pays their claims. So
Ah.
but so do all the companies that we work with. So
Right.
yeah, it's definitely worth seeing if you can save some money.
Very interesting. Again, the phone number for Stonebridge, 866-295-5146. I wonder if I have time to squeeze in another one. These folks have a vacation cabin that's appreciated significantly, and they'd like to pass this on to the grandchildren, Jeff, but they're unsure about potential estate tax or inheritance issues. What's the smartest way to include a valuable property like this in an estate plan?
Yeah, so with a vacation cabin, hope it's somewhere nice. If that's
Yes.
let's say it's Colorado.
Okay.
As far as inheritance, it's going to depend on the state in which you die for inheritance taxes. But when we look at the value of that, so let's say you paid $100,000 for that, now it's worth $600,000. If you bought it a long time in Colorado, that's probably the case, or worse. It might be worth millions.
$1 million, yes.
When you pass away, your family gets a step up in basis, meaning you paid $100 and it's worth $1 million. The new basis would be $1 million on the date of death.
I see.
So they could sell it and not pay any long-term capital gains.
Oh, good.
So that's a really nice thing. And we talked about this earlier in the show. That would be a reason to not gift that cabin to them, because otherwise they would maintain that $100,000 basis.
Oh.
If you gifted it to them, and then they'd have to pay tax on the whole $900. So that would
boy.
really hurt.
Okay, so get a consultation before you make these kinds of moves. 866-295-5146. Again, the show is Retirement Compass Radio Show with Stonebridge Wealth Systems. Reachable on this number, 866-295-5146.
Did you ever think your retirement would be shared with our government? It's true. Your traditional 401k, IRA, pension, or similar retirement accounts are like a partnership with the IRS. Simply put, they want their tax dollars, and you have them. With our latest tax calculator, you can plug in your own numbers while sitting at home. To find out what your future tax liability could be, scan the QR code or go to stonebridgetaxbill.com.
Solo 401ks for farmers, I guess, is our topic on this one. Now, what do you mean by solo 401k on Retirement Compass radio show with Stonebridge and Jeff Gove? What's your meaning there?
Yeah, so a lot of our farming families, maybe you have a hired man, or maybe you're doing all the work yourself. Mm-hmm. A lot of people we talk to, they're looking at ways to minimize taxes. And that's a big thing when you're farming. Maybe you're pushing selling corn to next year, or you're prepaying expenses, or you're buying machinery that's depreciating. There's other options available to you. So a 401k plan allows you to put a big chunk of money in there every year, but then you still have that asset. So let's say you put in $50,000. You pay yourself, you put money in the plan, you're deducting all of that if you want to. Nice thing is you could also do a Roth and let that money grow tax-free, pay the tax today, let it grow tax-free. But I think it's really important for our farmers to hear this, that I think liquidity, having some liquid assets is going to be a huge thing for you, especially as you get closer to retirement. Because as you all know, you have a high net worth, but we're looking at the value of the land, the value of machinery, and those types of things, where in order to get money out of that, you're going to have to borrow against it or sell it. So if we, instead of buying machinery that you don't need, if you need it, that's a totally different deal. But I'm talking to the people that are buying machinery every year just for the tax benefits.
I see.
We can get the same types of tax benefits from doing a solo 401k, where you can put a big chunk in and still deduct it, but you still have the money, and that money is now growing for you. So you're buying an asset that's appreciating rather than putting your money in an asset that's depreciating.
Oh, wow.
And again, the other side of it is if that piece of machinery that you need is going to perform better and it's going to make things more efficient, and the technology on these tractors and combines is absolutely incredible. So I get that. It fine tunes, how much fertilizer do I need in this one spot? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's pretty incredible. Mm-hmm. But if you've already got all that and you don't need to upgrade, you're just looking for, the tax benefits, doing some of those other things could be a really good way for you to put money away, but again, still have the asset and then let it grow for you for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm. That is a wonderful idea. And that could be for yourself or your hired person. Mm-hmm. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So you could do both. I mean, if it's a family operation, let's say it's husband, wife,
okay,
you can do solo 401k, which is very, very low cost and easy to manage. But you can do that for both the husband and wife. So you can put in big chunks. And if you're not able to put enough in, then we're looking at a defined benefit plan where, then you're talking six figures putting away. We've got some people that are putting $400,000 or $500,000 a year in these plans, deducting it and deferring the taxes. You will pay the tax eventually, but there's also some other benefits. There's a 401h that we usually implement in these plans where that's growing for healthcare. So if you deduct it going in and then you use it for healthcare coming out and you don't pay tax on it. So lots of options. But instead of buying a depreciating asset, let's get your money invested and working for you.
That is an amazing idea. What a concept.
Thanks.
You mean this? You mean this can work to our advantage?
Yeah, we can make money.
Yeah, woohoo! 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. In other words, planning for retirement in these situations is not all bad news. There are some really great strategies that the uber wealthy have always used, right? They know about this, and, well, it's just available to you, even though possibly you're just medium wealthy, middle class. Either way, 866-295-5146. Call Stonebridge.